In today's video, I'm going to do an expansion on a previous video that I made of a little like teeny tiny emergency kit slash everyday carry slash problem solving kit, and that was this little teeny weeny kit. But this is not going to always get the job done, and depending on what you're doing and what you're traveling, I'm just going to give you some ideas of some of the things that we have used or some alternatives. So first I'm going to start with a little more expansive medical kit and some things that you might find to come in really handy. So they make itty bitty versions of this or individual squeeze packets of eye drops. These can be used to clean out a wound, clean out your eyes if you get something in your eyes. This is not necessarily the best size, but eye drops are a very handy thing to have. It's always handy to have a little tiny hand sanitizer. Again, you can find this in a lot of different sizes. You can even find sanitizing wipes, which you could probably fit into the everyday carry. I think I have some alcohol swabs in there, but this is a handy thing to have around just when it's not possible to wash your hands. For those of you who wear contacts, it's probably always a good idea to carry one of each eye extra contacts in an everyday carry just in case you lose a contact, or of course bring your glasses. They make even smaller versions of this, or if you get an old eye drop container, you can actually squeeze a little bit of this into it and use that as a teeny tiny soap dispenser. This is Castile soap, and Castile soap can be used for basically everything. I wouldn't recommend doing it, but you can even use it to brush your teeth, wash your hair. In my experience, it makes your hair kind of greasy, but you can wash clothes, dishes, hands, face, etc. It's a little bit drying, but handy to have in a pinch. And this is a Dr. Bronner's, and you can buy this. I think I got this at Sprouts. So you can get little itty bitty amber bottles and fill them with individual essential oils. So having a few essential oils when you travel could be handy. Like tea tree oil is naturally antibacterial. Lavender can be used for pain or if you're having trouble sleeping. So a couple little itty bitty of those amber bottles could be very handy. So these are a couple different versions of baby size Aquafor. This one's even refillable, so I actually prefer this, but these are harder to find. I'll see if I can find a link for you. And that way, if you have a larger Aquafor or whatever it is, Vaseline, CeraVe healing ointment, they're all basically the same with slightly different ingredients, but it's a really tiny travel size. Lips, cuts, cuticles, tame your eyebrows, whatever. So if you guys have seen my video about sunscreen, you know that I'm a big fan of sunscreen. This is my favorite, most used kind of sunscreen, but it's not always realistic to bring this huge container. So here's a little tip. Contact lens cases are a great way to take a teeny tiny serving of a lot of different things. So you could use it for sunscreen, you could use it for a little Aquafor, you could use it for a little bit of powder, face moisturizer. If you wore foundation or other bits of makeup, you could put little tiny servings in this. Depending on what it is, it could be one individual, or like if this was Aquafor, that could be weeks. You can see I have a few different versions of these, so I can take a ton of different products. If I'm taking a 3-day trip, I can basically put all my toiletries in this. And then I have the world's tiniest toiletry case. So this is something else you could put into that little contact lens case. But baby powder is good for a couple of things in a pinch. So if you're a hiker and you're starting to get chafe in your feet or chafe between your legs, or let's say you're just starting to get a little janky under the armpits or something like that, a little bit of baby powder or even like cornstarch or arrowroot starch will go a long way. So I personally prefer unwaxed, unflavored dental floss, which is actually really hard to find. This one's kind of big, but there's lots of tiny, tiny versions of this, and often your dentist will have little baby versions of this, and you could bring that with you. You can use this as a place for thread, and you can sew things with it, and dental floss is way stronger than regular thread. You obviously can floss your teeth with it. You could use, what was the other thing I was going to use it for? But anyway. Your dentist tells you should floss your teeth. I don't know if it's actually true or not, but they say it's actually more important to floss than brush. I think they're both important. These are called Toothy Tablets or Toothpaste Tablets. And you don't have to bring this entire container. Take a few out, put it in a little container. You could even put it in that contact lens container if you're only going for a couple of days. Depending on the type and the size, you can either use one tablet, or some of them, I find that they're so foamy I could use half of a tablet. What's great about these is that the volume that they take up is small, but when you're trying to travel without so many liquids, so let's say you're going on a trip for a month, you're never going to be able to take a month's worth of toothpaste in a liquid form. If you don't want to buy it where you're going, you could easily take 60 of these, and it's not going to count against your liquids. So they make itty bitty versions of this. I think you can even buy them at the dollar store. I'll check and see if there's any on Amazon. But this is super glue. Super glue, I mean, aside from the obvious uses of it, I'm not really supposed to say this, but there is a type of liquid bandage that's used for sutures in a pinch. You could maybe substitute this. Don't come for me in the comments on that one. Little itty bitty bug sprays. You can also get bug spray wipes, and you can get solid bug spray. So if you don't want it to be against your liquids, now this is like the big Mac Daddy. This has DEET in it, and like if you're going somewhere where you're afraid you're going to get dengue fever, malaria, chikungunya, or any other nasty thing that you can get from a mosquito, I wouldn't screw around. I would get DEET. If you're going somewhere where it's just going to be inconvenient, you could probably even use some essential oils or a solid, but both of these would meet your liquid requirements and are handy. Now you cannot bring this on an airplane. However, if you're not traveling by plane, it's very handy to have a lighter, but what you can bring on a plane is some matches. So you can either get the kind of matches that are either waterproof matches or come in a waterproof container, or just a regular book of matches. Do places even give those anymore? But I think they still do. But this is a baby version. This is actually what I bring when I go camping. This is what I use as a backup for my Jetboil. This is not for everyone, but I just wanted to show the different versions of EpiPen. Nowadays, if you have an anaphylactic allergy like I do to pork, you have to have 2 EpiPens or epinephrine pens. This is one version. This is EpiPen brand, and this is AviQ. And I find that these are way better for travel because they're much more compact. So if you have a choice, I mean, get whichever one is cheaper, but I find this is better for travel. This is just a little tea light candle. If you are in a situation where, you know, the power goes out, whatever, and you have your little matches or your lighter, this could actually be really handy. But an alternative to this, of course, is a flashlight. So you could use the flashlight on your phone, but if you don't want to use that, or like you're worried about your battery and not being able to charge it, another thing that you can use, they make itty bitty little flashlights. They're so tiny, you squeeze them and they go on your like your keychain. But another option is a headlamp. This is a rechargeable headlamp. It's a pretty ultralight one. It's made by Nightcore. And this one, the rechargeable is pretty clutch because if you have to change the batteries, depending on where you are, if you can get batteries. But the same thing, if you have to charge it, something else that's really handy to have is a battery bank. So depending on, you can get a battery bank that's just gonna charge up something really quickly that's the size of maybe like a little lighter, all the way up to like a big Mac Daddy that's going to charge your computer a couple of times. But those are handy to have as well. This is pepper spray. I have mixed emotions about this. However, depending on what you want to use for self-protection, you can't bring this on an airplane, obviously. And whenever I go backpacking, people are like, did you bring a gun or a knife or whatever? I'm like, oh my gosh. So sometimes I will bring this mostly to make my family feel better. Honestly, this is not going to deter a bear, but it might deter a nasty human. So let's talk compasses for a minute. First of all, a compass is only helpful if you have a map. And more importantly, if you know how to read a map. So if you don't know how to read a map and you don't have a map, there's no point in you ever getting a compass because it's not going to tell you anything other than which way is north, which you can tell from the sun anyway. However, if you do have a map and you know how to read a map, a compass can be super handy. These are just the free earbuds that you get from, I got these from Delta. But if you're on an airplane and you want to watch a movie, you either have to have pluggable earbuds or you have to have an adapter for something like AirPods, which you could definitely get that as well. But it's handy to have these for certain situations. This is actually a toothbrush that I cut the end off of and has this little silicone case that weighs nothing to keep it clean. You can actually get something called a Wisp, which is a disposable little toothbrush. Now, I'm not a big fan of disposable things, but in a pinch, if you wanted to put this in your little emergency kit and you needed to brush up your teeth, it could be very handy. This is the teeny tiniest little Swiss Army knife. Now, you also cannot bring this on a plane. I suppose you probably could if you took the blade out of it and you wanted to use just the scissors and stuff. But this doesn't have everything that you would need, but it's pretty handy, and it actually encompasses, you know, some things that you wouldn't get. I don't know what you're going to do with this plastic toothpick other than pick your teeth like 3 times, but the tweezers are okay, and it has a file. Ooh, they both came out. A little teeny tiny blade, and these have actually come in handy. The blade I've used a lot when I'm backpacking, but I don't bring it when I travel. Oh gosh, there we go. And you wouldn't think these scissors would do much. I have used these a lot, and they actually do work really well, and they're teeny weeny. This is a Myar emergency blanket. This can actually be super handy if you, one, are day hiking and you get yourself into a situation where you didn't have enough layers. You can actually put this underneath your clothes as well. You could wrap this around someone that's showing the early signs of hypothermia, and it's very, very, very light. I do recommend taking one of these in a day hiking kit, but this could also be really good for just a travel kit. This is a Silica Packet, and this could be handy to put inside your emergency kit to keep from moisture from building up, because the moisture can deteriorate, say, like your pills or vitamins, etc. So these, you can get these in a lot of things that are shipped now. You just keep them and then chuck one inside your little kit. Nail clippers. I feel like this is self-explanatory. However, they're good for a bunch of different things. If you don't have scissors, you can use this to cut thread, to cut floss, to cut string, cut off cuticles that are driving you crazy. These are TSA approved scissors because they have a blunt tip. So this is something that you could bring in your kit as well without getting in trouble with TSA. A thermometer. Probably a little bit extra, but if you're traveling long term, it might be worth having, but ultimately, I don't know that I would necessarily bring this, but if you have kids, this might be worth it. If you travel a lot, I do recommend you have a decent rain jacket, specifically one that's waterproof and not water resistant, and that is light and packable, usually packable into its own pouch. But in a pinch, if you don't want to bring a whole raincoat, this is a nice thing to fit in a day pack or in like an everyday carry in case you're going to be like, there's a possibility you're going to get rained on. Are they amazing? No. Are they going to rip? Sure. Are they going to be one use? Probably. But it is handy to have. I've had this forever. I've never used it, but we brought it a lot of places. There's a couple of hairs in it. A little teeny tiny brush with a mirror. Now this can be, there's the obvious part of a brush. And this, I'm not exaggerating. I think I've had this for like 20 years. So it has a brush that you can flip in and then a mirror for cosmetic things, but also you can use this as a signal in an emergency. So if you had to be extracted from somewhere or you were trying to get someone's attention, a mirror is actually really, really handy for that. Much more effective than a bright piece of clothing. Now I want to get into some kitchen stuff. Now, we camp a lot, and this kit, you cannot get this exact one. There are different versions. I'll link a few different versions. And then there's even these, they don't have any lids on them, and there's like silicone ones with lids that seal, that are collapsible, but we have had this one forever. So this thing is pretty fantastic. We use this a lot. It's good enough for 2 people. So there's the bottom and the top, one's a little bit thicker than the other. So 2 people can eat out of this as either a plate or a bowl, or you can use it as serving dishes, different sizes like that. And then this comes with 2 versions of bowls / cups. One that has some measurements that could be a measuring cup, and then one that has a little lid. I really, really wish that I could find this for you guys. This got discontinued a long time ago. Then it has a little cutting board and a grater, a little tiny thing for oil. This thing is very cool. So you can fill it up with 3 different versions of spices. It seals on the bottom, and then the little lids come up and they're little shakers. Very cool thing. And then it all nests together. So I'm going to show you how this all fits together. Actually, this should go on the bottom. So that on the bottom. Those little things in there. Lid on them. Ta-da. I mean, you could fit all kinds of other stuff in here. We've put the spork that I've showed you in my other video, plastic spoons and knives, different types of spices, electrolyte packets, all can fit in this thing. And it is, I really think we've had this for over 20 years. It's a long, long time. These are called stasher bags. These are reusable Ziploc bags. There's a few different companies that make these now. The nice thing about stasher bags is you can put boiling water in them, you can microwave them. Not all silicone is microwave, oven, safe, etc. And these, I have never had one of these leak, knock on wood. You can use these for all the way from carrying solid shampoo and conditioner, food and snacks, making a little toiletry kit out of it, using this as your liquids container when you're traveling. There's a lot of great things that you can do with this. You can put wet clothes in it if you're in a pinch. You can also do the same thing with regular old, oh, that's a little teeny tiny piece of soap in that one. Ziploc bags will do the same thing. They're not nearly as durable, so if you want them more durable, this is just a regular one, but the freezer bags are thicker and more durable. And they come in different sizes, all the way up to like a 2-gallon one. And you can actually use the 2-gallon ones to put clothes in. If you kind of sit on it and then seal it, it's kind of like those compression bags. Obviously, lots of people use the packing cubes and whatnot, so if that works for you, but I think something like this can actually be really handy for packing up dirty clothes. So get like a 2-gallon Ziploc bag and put all your dirty clothes in it, squish it down, and that way it doesn't take up a lot of room and it doesn't contaminate all of the clean clothes in your bag. So this is a Spork. There's a lot of different versions of this. I have a titanium spoon, but this is the kids version of this company. They also make a larger version, and there's tons of different options. But this is very lightweight. It's quite durable. We've had it for a long time. But a Spork is a really handy thing to have because when you're traveling, first of all, do you want to use single-use plastic utensils all the time? And some places just simply don't have them. Or if you want to bring things that you're going to eat on your own, people act like this is an imperative thing. Obviously, you do not need a straw to drink. But if you're a straw person and you don't want to use the single-use ones and add it to all the trash, a reusable straw is a good idea. However, make sure that you have the little cleany thing that goes with it because they get janky and gross. So, and I do have one, it's in the drawer, but you want to make sure you can clean it. They also make collapsible versions of this and they come in their own little containers. It depends on how bougie you want to be if you're really into straws. We're not big drinkers, so we never bring this with us. However, and because also if you need a bottle opener, my little Spork thing that I have has a bottle opener. But if you're a wine drinker, you might need a wine opener. So this is a bottle opener, a wine opener, and a wine cutter all in one. This is a universal travel adapter. If you travel internationally, you're going to need one of these. And how this one works is you just press the button and it slides out, when I say that, all the different adapters for different countries around the world. They make a lot of different versions of these. I'll link a few different kinds. There's one that's pretty popular among some YouTubers right now that I think has some USB and USB-C ports. That would be handy too. This is not a fancy thing, but this is a shopping bag. Either a reusable shopping bag that packs into itself, or this is great if you just want to put like dirty shoes in it or wet clothes or dirty clothes that you don't want to touch the rest of your clothes when you're traveling. Something like this is super handy. And I found this way to wrap it up. So you take the bag, stretch it out, wrap it around your fingers, and then take the end and just shove it in the hole. And you get yourself a little wrapped up bag. Carabiners, there's different kinds of these. They have some pretty cool ones now that have clips on both sides, and you can use them to lock, say, the zippers on your bag. On some of the bigger ones, you can keep a bag from hanging on the ground. These are just carabiners that we basically got for free on different things over the years on different sizes. I actually find that the little ones are the most helpful, but you can use them to hang things in like a clothesline. You can use them to hang things off of your bag. You can clip things together. So carabiners, a few of those are pretty handy when you're traveling. Controversial. Now, backpacking, super handy. This is called a pea cloth. Now, if you are going to be somewhere, there are some countries that do not ever have toilet paper. Now, if you got to go number 2, this is obviously not going to help you. Another option is to have some baby wipes and some tissues with you. However, this has an antimicrobial mesh that keeps it from getting, grody, and then it's washable. You're obviously going to wash it. But in a pinch, so like in China, for example, when we went to China, there's no toilet paper. There's no paper towels. There's no hand soap in any of the bathrooms that we went to. So unless in the last number of years that's changed, something like this would be really handy for the ladies. Then obviously backpackers use this. And you can hand wash it in a sink with some soap, or you can throw it through the laundry. It's actually really handy. This in here is actually a travel clothesline. It's made out of the same thing as this. This is called paracord. Paracord is a type of cording that's very, very strong. This one has little clips all along it and has some clips on the end so you can hang it to different things. And there's a tensioner that makes it tight. However, it's really only good for hanging clothes. Whereas a piece of paracord, if you cut this can be used for all kinds of different things. Lashing things together, making your own clothesline. It's called paracord because it's the cordage that they use on parachutes. So it's super, super strong. The last thing that I want to go through is different types of like spices, condiments, and little travel foods that can be really handy. Our family loves mayonnaise. Don't be judgy. But little mayonnaise packets. So if you get tuna and you're going to have a snack, like tuna's just not good without mayonnaise, in my opinion. So mayonnaise packets, we steal these from hotels. They're breakfast area. So we have peanut butters, jellies, Nutella. Do I have any of those in there? Let's see. Any Nutella? Oh, I've got a honey. So when we have breakfast at these hotels, we pick these things up. Little tiny Nutella packets are pretty great. Salt and pepper are really handy to have. There's other different spice packets. Like I can't eat soy sauce, but if you can eat soy sauce packets can always make a meal taste better. Electrolyte packets are always a really handy thing to have. Tiny little things of honey. We actually use this for a couple different things. One, obviously you can put it in something to sweeten it, but if somebody's getting hypoglycemic, a little packet of honey can be very, very handy. Also, in a pinch, a packet of sugar. Not that I'm condoning you eating just straight up sugar, but if someone's becoming hypoglycemic, that can be life-saving. That is a random hodgepodge of things that you might find to be really helpful if you're traveling, backpacking. There's a bunch of different circumstances. My family, we do all of the above. We backpack, we hike, we car camp, we travel all over the world, and depending on what we're going, we pick and choose different things. I'm kind of in charge of all of that. I think that if it wasn't for me, my family would never have food, water, or any sort of medical care. So I just make that my responsibility. So for whoever's in your travel group that is the person that's responsible for that, this might be helpful for you.